Welcome to Gospel Truth with Andrew Wommack, a teaching ministry that focuses on God's unconditional love and grace.
He's helped me to be transformed into the image of God, which is God's purpose for my life.
I have the faith now to be able to stand through anything that I go through. I know that I'm going to come out victorious on the other side because of what I've learned through this ministry.
And now, here's Andrew.
Welcome to our Friday's broadcast of the Gospel Truth. For the last 2 weeks, I've been sharing with you about an experience I had on January the 31st, 2002, where the Lord spoke to me from Psalm 78:41 and said, "You're limiting me by your small thinking." And I made a decision to take the limits off God. I wrote a book about it, Don't Limit God. I've got a study guide on it. We've got this little static clean sticker that we're giving to everyone as a free gift. You can request it, and this will clean to a mirror, to a windshield, to most things. It's just a great reminder to take the limits off God. And since I began to do that, it has just transformed our life and ministry. You know, we recently had a note-burning ceremony where we celebrated the paying off of our parking garage. We paid off $28 million in 28 months. It was miraculous. And anyway, I was giving some background, letting people understand where we came from. And it is phenomenal, the difference that this has made in my life. And I'm sharing this because I believe every one of us limit God in some way. You know, I've taken the limits off to a large degree, but again, it's just recently that now that we got this garage paid off, God is telling me we need to start building student housing. We need a student activities center. We need a gymnasium, a sports complex. I probably still have $150 million worth of buildings on the inside of me. And God's telling me it's time to take the limits off and go for it. And so we're moving in that direction. I don't believe that any of us have totally tapped out God. Nobody has just freely, completely let the Lord flow through them without any hindrance. You can even go back to Moses, and I mean, as much as God used Moses, Moses limited God. He got mad and struck the rock instead of speaking to it, and as a result, it cost him going into the promised land. He didn't see those things come to pass. You know, I just don't know that any of us have ever perfectly taken all of the limits off of God and have represented the Lord without limits to the world. So whoever you are, I believe that you can benefit from this. And I've been sharing some awesome things. So we've tried to motivate you that all of us need to take the limits off of God. I shared some things that were personal things to me that I wasn't even aware of at first. But we had reached a place to where we were doing good and things were working and finances were coming in. We were surviving. We were coasting, and I got lazy and complacent. And there's a lot of people that honestly are just looking for the easiest way. And it's easy to not stretch yourself and to go for it and not believe God for something more. So sometimes that's the thing that limits God, is just your desire to just have it easy and not take any risk. And then there was a fear of failure, that if I started really increasing, what happened if it didn't work? And I had to deal with the fear of failure. The antidote to that is 1 John chapter 4, verse 18 says, "Perfect love casts out fear." And I just had to draw on the love of God to overcome the fear of failure. And then another thing I talked about the last couple of days, that a lot of people, they don't relate to this, but because of where I came from, I got very proud and arrogant. I was a religious Pharisee when I was a teenager. And man, God showed up and God knocked that pride out of me. And I've walked with an awareness that, man, this is how damaging pride is. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. And one of my fears that was limiting God flowing through me was a fear that if I gave over and if He really began to start using me in a bigger way, that I'd get swelled up in pride. And that was a fear for me. And I wasn't looking forward to it. I was enjoying my anonymity. I was enjoying flying under the radar. And I've talked about that the last couple of days, that can actually be pride where you sit there and refuse to allow God to promote you and to magnify what He's done in your life. That can actually be pride. Most people don't understand that. They think pride is only arrogance, but pride is just exalting your own will, your own wisdom, your own choices ahead of God. If God tells you to do something and it's going to cause you to get credit, then it would be pride for you to turn it down because you would be worried about what people would think about you. I heard a story about a man who in a church they took a vote to find out who the most humble person was, and everybody agreed it was dear old brother so-and-so, Saint so-and-so. And so on Sunday morning they gave him this big button like this. I mean, it was 6 or 7 inches across and it was red and it had white letters on it, humble. They gave him this humble button. And because he accepted it, they took it away, thinking that if he was really humble, he would have said, oh no, I don't deserve this. But see, that's the way that religion has made it, that you can beat yourself down and that's humility, but you can't exalt yourself. You can't let anybody give you a compliment. Moses wrote in Numbers chapter 12, verse 3, it says, now Moses was the meekest man on the face of the earth. And Moses wrote that about himself. That was humility. So anyway, I've talked about that. You know, another thing, this wasn't the major thing because ever since the Lord called me into ministry, I've had some people criticize us. You know, the Scripture says in Mark chapter 4 that once the word is sown, that afflictions and persecutions come for the word's sake. And so anytime that you are standing and speaking the Word of God, you're going to be criticized. And so I've had that happen to me ever since the Lord touched my life. And so I had dealt with persecution in a way. But I knew that if the Lord increased the ministry, if it became a worldwide ministry, and if I started doing the things that God called me to do, I just anticipated that there was going to be a lot more persecution, and there has been. I mean, we've got thousands, this is not an exaggeration, thousands of blogs written about what an evil person I am. And so there is persecution that came with it. And you know what? I just wasn't looking forward to being persecuted more. I really wasn't. And so that was one thing that was a hindrance to me just believing God for an increased ministry, because it means that you're going to get increased persecution. I don't believe that God made us to like persecution. The Scripture says in Revelation chapter 4, verse 11, that for His pleasure we are and were created. That means that the original purpose and still God's purpose of creating us was for His pleasure. So He created us for a relationship. And I believe that within every single person there's this desire to have people like you. If you like rejection, something's wrong with you. That's not normal. God didn't make us for rejection. He made us for relationship. So I believe that every person desires to have people like them. And because of that, persecution is a real negative, and there's a lot of people that honestly will not do what God called them to do because of the persecution. And you know, I used to say that in the United States, our persecution is subtle. It's not really the way that it is other places, but that's changing. I mean, we're having people now that are being arrested, they're losing their jobs, they're being shamed, they're being trashed and manipulated because of their Christian stand against the vaccination or against the government overreach. We got sued twice by the state of Colorado last year, and we sued them twice. And so even in the United States now, there is open persecution against Christianity. You can speak against a Christian and say things, you can trash them, but if you even insinuate that a Muslim or a minority ethnic group or something, if you say the slightest thing, man, they just come out against you with a vengeance. Christians are the only group that it is politically correct to come out and persecute. So I used to say that persecution wasn't here in a physical way, it was just subtle ways, but now that's changing here even in the United States. And the Lord said in Matthew chapter 24 that before He came back, we would be hated of all nations for His name's sake. And that's beginning to happen. But anyway, my point is that yes, persecution exists, and sometimes the subtle ways of persecuting people are even more damaging. Because if you were in a situation where a person says, you renounce your faith in the Lord or I'm going to kill you, that is just clear cut. Your choices are either totally renounce your Lord or die. But if you're in a situation where they say, well, take a vaccination, and again, the whole issue about vaccination is a separate thing about whether it's a good thing or not. But let's just say that you have a religious resistance towards taking the vaccination. You don't want it for religious reasons. And they say, well, you either take the vaccination or you're going to lose your job. That's not as clear cut. A person could say, well, I'm not totally renouncing the Lord by taking this. And so in some ways, these subtle ways of persecuting us for our religious beliefs are more damaging because it's easier to compromise on those and think that you can get by with stuff. So anyway, a fear of persecution was one of the reasons that I didn't want to really step out and do things. Let me read some scriptures to you that Jesus said here in Luke chapter 6 and in verse 22. He said, "Blessed are ye when men shall hate you and shall separate you from their company and shall reproach you and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. Rejoice ye in that day and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in heaven, for in like manner did their fathers unto the prophets. But woe unto you that are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe unto you," and it goes on. But it's just basically saying that, persecution is a part of the Christian life. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 12 says, "Yea, all that will live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution." It's a part of the Christian life. And again, some people think, well, I haven't been persecuted. Well, it says if you live godly, you will be persecuted. If you aren't being persecuted, it's because you aren't living a godly life. It's because when people speak out against the Lord and they take His name in vain and they do all of the things that they do, that you're just silent. I remember a story about a woman. She sent her young son to a camp, and it wasn't a church camp. It was a secular camp. And she was really worried that they would give him a hard time over him being a Christian. And so she kind of prepped him for it and told him how to stand and not take offense. And then the whole time that he was gone, she prayed for him and prayed that he wouldn't be offended if they criticized him for being a Christian. And when she picked him up after a week, she said, "How did it go?" And he was just real excited, talking about horseback riding, talking about canoeing, swimming in the lake, all of the things that they did. And he was just excited talking about everything. And then finally she said, "So did anybody give you a hard time, persecute you because you're a Christian?" And he goes, "Oh no, Mom, nobody ever found out." And this little kid thought that that was a good thing. But sad to say, there's a lot of people, there's probably people watching this that you don't get persecuted. Nobody says anything to you, but it's because they don't know that you're a Christian. It's because your Christianity doesn't show. It's because you aren't living a godly life. We live in a post-Christian nation. Now this nation, the United States, was founded as a Christian nation, but it's not living like a Christian nation right now. I still call it a Christian nation because that's our roots. But at the moment, I guarantee you, the way that we are promoting homosexuality, transgenderism, socialism, abortion, and on, those are not godly traits. We are living in an ungodly culture. And if you stand up for what's right, I can guarantee you, you will be persecuted. The only people who are not persecuted are people who aren't living a godly life. If you never bump into the devil, it's because you're both heading in the same direction. If you turn around and go upstream, there's going to be resistance. You will have the devil come against you. You will have persecution. So I'm saying all of this to say that when the Lord told me I was limiting Him by my small thinking, one of the reasons I was thinking small is because I had less criticism, less opposition. And I knew that if the Lord increased the ministry and if I began to be known all around the world, that I was going to be criticized. To this day, they won't let me into India. They've banned me from India because of the things that I do. And our main Bible college over there in Chennai is one of the strongholds where I think it's Buddhist. I'm not sure whether it's Buddhist or Hindu, but one of those religious groups has gained control of the government in that province. And I went over to hold a crusade and they found out about it and they banned me. And so for 4 years or so, they won't let me in. That's persecution. I'm being rejected over that. And, I don't care for that. I don't like that. And so a fear of persecution was holding me back. Some of you might think, well, that's obvious. You shouldn't let things like that bother you. But did you know that there's some of you that maybe God has spoken to you about, like coming to Bible college and leaving your job and leaving your home that you've bought and your job and all these kind of things and coming to Bible school, and yet you aren't doing it because there's people that would criticize you. There's family members that would think you've lost your ever-loving mind to give up a good paying job, to give up a security of a house and property that you own and move to another place. You know what that is? That's persecution. You are wanting the acceptance of other people, and when people withhold their acceptance and instead give you rejection, that's persecution. There's some of you that really have a desire to go on the mission field or to do something, and yet you're sitting here thinking about that the grandparents would say, but you're taking our kids away from us, and you won't do what God calls you to do because of the criticism and the rejection of other people. That's persecution. And if you are more responsive to people and their criticism and their rejection than you are to God, then you are limiting what God can do in your life. There's an example of Abraham. The Lord told him to leave his father's house and all of his brethren and his kindred and come into a land that he would later show him. And Abraham didn't obey immediately. He moved part way and stayed with his father in a place called Haran until his father died. And then when his father died, he finally came into the promised land, but he brought Lot with him. Did you know that Lot was a kindred? One of his near kin, it was his nephew. And I believe that the reason that Abraham did it was because his brother had died. Lot was in a sense orphaned, and Abraham probably felt a responsibility to take care of him. But nonetheless, it was contrary to what God said. And so this is how we limit God. We get to rationalizing things and thinking, well, God, yes, you want me to go to Bible school, or you want me to go into ministry, or you want me to go on a mission field or something, but I've got this relative that's responsible. I need to take care of them. And so we limit what God has told us. We limit obeying Him because we think that our wisdom is better. I've had people before that God told them to come to Bible school, but if they just stayed 2 or 3 more years, they could end with retirement and they could get much more money. And they just think that somehow or another God didn't know this. God, you didn't understand that if I'll just wait 3 years, that it would be so much better for me. And so they lean under their own understanding and they limit what God can do in their life. But see, when Lot came with Abraham, I'm sure Abraham did it thinking that, well, God, I know you told me to leave my father's house and all of my kindred and brethren, but Lot needs me. And so he took him and he compromised, and that limited what God could do in Abraham's life. And did you know that the end result of this was that Lot went down into Sodom and Gomorrah because he was after the money? He took the well-watered land. He was a very prosperous man, and he associated with the ungodly because of the financial gain for him. And he wound up, Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed by those 2 angels. His wife turned into a pillar of salt. 2 of his daughters at least. It says he went to his daughters in the city and tried to get them to come out. And so we know that he had 2 daughters that were destroyed in Sodom and Gomorrah, and possibly grandchildren, certainly sons-in-law. He lost all of them. And then the 2 daughters that came out with him thought that God had killed everybody on the planet and that they were the only people left. And so they got their father drunk and they had children by him through incest. How could things have worked out any worse if Abraham would have just obeyed God and have left Lot in Ur of the Chaldees? Would it have been any worse than what he experienced in Sodom and Gomorrah, losing his wife, at least 2 daughters, and then 2 daughters turning to incest? I don't think you could have imagined a situation that would have been worse. And see, there are some of you that God has told you to do something, but you're thinking, I've got a responsibility to my parents, to my brother, to my sister, to my nephew, to this job, to people that are counting on me, and you aren't doing what God told you to do because of something else. That's limiting what God can do in your life. You have to get to a place that regardless of the criticism that comes your way, regardless of the persecution, regardless of what happens, if it hair lips the devil, you are going to do what God calls you to do regardless of the consequences. You know, last year during this pandemic, by the time you're watching this, it's now been a year and a half ago, but during the pandemic, we decided to go ahead and hold meetings because the Lord told us not to forsake the assembling of ourselves together. And we had the government come after us and threaten to arrest me. And they gave us a cease and desist order and all of these things. And we had to sue the government. They sued us. And I got a lawyer on staff. And every time I'd make a decision that we're going to go ahead and defy this court order and we're going to do what we're supposed to do, because of his fiduciary responsibility. I'm not criticizing him for it, but he would come to me and he says, now you realize if you do this, they could do this. And finally, after a number of times, I told him, I said, look, I'm going to do what God told me to do. And it doesn't matter what the consequences are. If they put me in jail, I don't care. I am not responsible for what they do to me. I'm only responsible for what God tells me. And so what I'm saying is I've come to this place to where I'm going to do what's right. And I don't evaluate what's right based on what somebody else does in response. I'm going to do what God tells me to do. I had a woman come to me that's a nurse. And again, you could debate the vaccine, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. That's a separate issue. I'm not talking about that. But this nurse did not want to take the vaccine. She felt like it was an overreach for them to demand that she be vaccinated to keep her job. So she came to me and she says, what am I going to do? They're going to fire me. And I said, do you want to take the vaccine? She said, no. And I said, well, then just do what's right. Don't do it. And she says, but I'll lose my job. And I told her, I said, don't evaluate what is right and wrong based on consequences. You do what's right, and regardless of the consequences, regardless of what happens, you just do what's right. And that's the way that I live my life. I don't sit here and determine, well, this is what you want me to do because if I do this other thing, I'm going to suffer for it. No, I'm going to do what God tells me to do regardless of the consequences. And that applies to persecution. And so I just had to make this decision that God, you told me to quit limiting you. That's going to cause the ministry to explode. I'm going to be persecuted. I'm going to have people come against me. I'm going to have people say all kinds of terrible things. And I don't know. I can't control other people. All I can do is control myself. And so I just decided to go for it. And man, God has blessed me. So you need to likewise just make a decision to do what God tells you to do, regardless of the consequences. Running out of time today, but I've got this book entitled Don't Limit God. I've got this little free sticker that's a static cling sticker that'll be a great reminder. This is a free gift to you. We've also got a study guide, and we've got an updated teaching entitled Don't Limit God 20 Years Later. And I believe it'll be a blessing. Listen to our announcer, and please call or write today.
Learn how to take the limits off God when you get Andrew's new series, Don't Limit God 20 Years Later. This series is available in a CD or DVD album made from our daily television broadcast. Also available today is the Don't Limit God book and companion study guide. Each of these resources are available for a gift of any amount when you contact us. This entire series is also available for audio download absolutely free from our website. Also, as a special offer, Andrew is giving away the Don't Limit God sticker as his free gift to you when you write or call. This offer is limited to one free sticker per household and is available in the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. Contact us today to receive your free sticker. The individual topic highlighted on today's broadcast is available as an audio CD for a gift of any amount when you write or call. We encourage everyone to give because there's a blessing in giving. But if you're simply unable to afford it, Andrew and his partners will provide today's teaching free of charge. This is the last day we'll be offering this teaching, so be sure to respond today. You can become a Grace Partner through our website at awmi.net. You can also order resources or receive prayer by calling our helpline at 719-635-1111. Our helpline is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To write us, use the address on your screen. We appreciate your generosity and hope to hear from you today. Andrew has many conferences and seminars around the globe each year. For the latest information on Andrew's complete speaking schedule, visit our website at awmi.net/events.
Is it worth it? All this struggle and bloodshed? Solomon, be a man after his own heart. How, Father, see him.
One day, David, death will be no more.
Let her go to him!
Sin will be destroyed forever. There will be no more tears, no more pain. On that day, I will dwell in the heart of every man, woman, and child who chooses to see me. That is worth it.
I see you, David. Always.
I want to let you know that when you support Andrew Wommack Ministries, that we also support a lot of other ministries. We actually started the Springs Rescue Mission that is now the largest distributor of food and clothing and furniture in all of Colorado Springs. We've got ministries to orphans. We've got ministry to children that have been caught in the sex trade. We support pregnancy centers, have actually lowered the abortion rate in Colorado to one of the lowest in the nation, and there's just a lot of things we do. So when you support here, you are helping us reach people all over the world.
Have you checked out the Inside Story yet? It's a great way for you to get an inside look of what is happening at Andrew Wommack Ministries. With years of interviews, there's a lot to get excited about. Check out this month's featured story today, only at awmi.net.
For 20 years, Andrew Wommack has been sharing the message of God's unconditional love and grace through his half-hour television program Monday through Friday. Now, Andrew is broadcasting a full hour-long teaching each week.
When God finds somebody who wants to be a giver and wants to bless somebody else, He will give seed to the sower. He will give seed to people who will sow it and give it to other people.
Watch the weekend edition of Gospel Truth with Andrew Wommack.